As a student of the martial arts myself, it is my great privilege to introduce our next guest. His name is Grandmaster William Cheung, and he is the head of Traditional Wing Chun in the whole world. Grandmaster Cheung, thank you for coming in today.
Thank you, Joe. My pleasure.
Tell me, when did you start learning Kung Fu?
In 1951, I was 11 years old, and at that time, three of us joined up. My big brother King Kong, and myself, and also my younger brother Benjamin. Yeah.
And where was this, and why did you want to learn?
Actually, my big brother, half big brother, and he always used me as a punching bag ever since I could remember. So I always wanted to learn something to defend myself. And then we found this system. Wing Chun was developed by a woman and very scientific and effective. So, but I could not learn it unless my big brother King Kong comes with me. So it was a bit disappointing, but it was good because later on we become very good friends.
Tell me about Wing Chun and what makes it different to other martial arts.
Wing Chun was developed by a woman, probably the only martial arts system in the world developed by a woman. And because by a woman, it does not emphasize on strength and even how big you are, it doesn't matter. And so it's very scientific, very effective. There are different programs to train the essentials, like in martial art, when you under pressure or when you're about to face off and so on, people get very excited. And Wing Chun has a special program to train people to be calm, so that control the adrenal acid, so the heart rate does not get too high up and so on. And then also to train the eyes. And there's a program that's very effective to train the eyes, open up the peripheral vision, and also balance. Then about techniques. The fighting strategy of Wing Chun is very unusual. We teach the student just to watch one point, the leading elbow, and control that leading elbow, go to the blind side. Because it's controlling the elbow, so the other person cannot, with the leverage and so on, and cannot do very much, and you don't have to deal with the other arm. So that it established the very, very effective fighting strategy.
How effective is Wing Chun against other martial arts? For example, Taekwondo is very popular in Australia.
Taekwondo is a competitive art, so it's all about their rules that are not allowed to use a lot of things. Like they're not even allowed to punch to the head. So you have to kick to the head and so on. And also it's a different fighting system altogether. Wing Chun, you can deal with armed opponents. It's sort of reality fighting system. You can deal with people with knives or baseball bats or even a pole or a spear, or you can deal with multiple opponents. And I was 1978. I was appointed the chief instructor for the 7th Fleet. They based in Japan.
So that's the American Marines.
American Marines and the SEAL teams, also trained there. So I trained. I developed a set of programs that for them how to disarm in close quarter. Even firearms and so on, and it's just using the similar principle, and so there I still got. Most of my friends all passed away now. I mean, the student in the SEALs, but they were still. Some of them still write to me and thank me for saving their life. So.
You've lived in a lot of places. Why did you choose to move to Australia?
When I came to Australia, it was I didn't have much choice, because I was very competitive in Hong Kong, and so every week I would, a friend of mine who lost to me the Zhuga Tonglong Prementis, Southern Prementis. He lost to in a challenge match to me. He was a grown man, but I was only 17, and he was very upset. So it sort of destroyed his, basically destroyed all his confidence and everything. So every week he found some master to fight in a challenge match to fight me.
So you were taking challenge matches when you were a teenager?
Yeah, I was a teenager. And see, I had advantage over them because most of the masters, they have they've been 20 years ago, they were in the peak of their, they just living on, and also they don't practice very frequently after they build their reputations, right? So at that time, so I was fighting the best fighter in Hong Kong every week in and week out. But
that'll get tiring pretty quickly.
Yeah, some day that he booked me 3 fights. 7 o'clock in the morning, a Tai Chi master. 1 o'clock in the afternoon, maybe Hong Ga master. And then in the evening, another person's, right? So I was fighting 3. But all the best fighters, I'm talking about at that time, the triad, the underworld, this is like the Chinese mafia, owns all the best fighters. And I didn't know that. So I won over all of them, and they become very upset because they lost face, and so come to a point that I was given like 6 weeks to get out of Hong Kong, because bad things gonna happen, So because they don't fight fair, they would a few times that I would walk out of a place, maybe a restaurant, there will be half a dozen of them armed to their teeth with knives and baseball bats and poles and things, waiting for me. But in those days, I was very, very creative, So in my left pocket, I always carry a bag of pepper. And I was the first one that used pepper spray. So I would throw the pepper at them and knock out the biggest one. And they always run away, So, but that also upset them very much, So I was given the ultimatum, I have to get out of Hong Kong. So my eldest brother, King Kong, that's his real name, right?
I thought you were joking.
No, joking. That's his real name. My school name is King Chuk. King Chuk. Chuk is chicken, right? And he's a King Kong. And he was in university, study in Sydney University. So that was the only place I could go. So I went to Sydney, to join him.
You're listening to 936 ABC Hobart. My name's Joel Reinberger. My guest is Grandmaster William Cheung, who is the head of Wing Chun all over the world. You're very famously known for having studied with Bruce Lee.
We trained together. I was the person responsible to introduce Bruce Lee to my master, Yip Man, right? But in those days, the senior student teach the junior and teach the beginner. And I was his senior, and I was his friend, so I was more or less responsible for his progress, right? But Bruce was so amazing, honestly, that I have never met anyone like Bruce. That normally anybody would say, okay, I've been doing 3 months, a very basic, just punch and kick. And and they would come up, after 3 months or after 3 weeks, they would come up. What was next? But Bruce would never come up and ask for what's the next. So he would just kept on going until he mastered it. So he actually influenced me to go back to the basics. So we would, in the later days, in the 1957, 58, we were training together. We just go on a lot of basics, a lot of basic movement. So when you have good foundation, you can build on. So that was why Bruce was so good.
And I guess in most fights, you're not using fancy moves.
No.
It's basic moves.
Yeah, basic moves. All you need is half a dozen good moves. But the good moves come from a good footwork. You have to have good balance, and back up with, your visual contact and your contact reflexes. And then back up with, if you are calm, you relax, you alert and relax, and you can bring out your techniques.
So what was he like as a person? What was he like when you weren't training?
Well, Bruce is very annoying. He would, because he's trying to catch up with the lost time, right? He didn't start until he was 13 years old in Wing Chun. So before, his father didn't want him, because his father also in the opera, very famous opera singer. And they know at that time all the opera, all the movie, all the troops, all controlled by the triads. So that any martial art, it's a big martial art school that's infiltrated with triads, or the master actually connected to the triads. So his father was so against, so we had to back him, sort of to let Bruce to train, because Wing Chun, my Sifu Yip Man, detest the triads, and also he only had a very small school. When I was joining the school, it was only 9 of them there, and including 3 of us, then make 12. And when Bruce was joining, only about 30 of them, 30 students there, right? So it's not a big school. We're talking about some big school that had several hundred students, and they were infiltrated or controlled by the triads, So Bruce was, so he would be walking along Nathan Road. If you haven't seen a friend for 2 years, you want to find him. You stand at the corner of Nathan Road, any corner. You will see him, because everybody walk past Nathan Road. And he would be holding two dumbbells and doing punching in Nathan Road. So before you even walk 2 blocks, there'll always be almost a fight, because people would laugh and, right? And when you're talking to Bruce, and he would be one hand, he would be doing
practicing moves.
Practicing moves, When he's eating, he's holding the chopstick on the right hand. He was doing something with his left hand. So he would be so annoying. And sometimes he would be tapping the table underneath, and, he would be kicking the chairs and so on. So it's never 1 second he wasn't doing something else, So he's really annoying, but I could understand, because he's trying to catch up, trying to be good, right? In fact, this habit just carries on to until the day he died. He would always be doing something.
Never stop training. Never stop learning.
Training. Yeah.
You're here this weekend to give a seminar on tomorrow afternoon. Dim Mak, which I believe means death touch.
Pressure point, death touch. the body has 32 meridians. Meridians is the energy channel, internal energy channel. It's just like the train track. And pressure point is there's about 750 pressure point on the body. It's just like the train stop, train station, right? So those 32 meridian controls all the function of the body. In fact, also governed by the biological clock, the body clock. So when we wake up in the morning, the first thing we do is go to the bathroom. Then we have breakfast. That all sort of fit into the biological clock.
Yep.
And then between 11 to 1, right now, 11 to 1 p.m., 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. is the heart. So that's why most people that have their heart attack is during the midday, right? And it runs through to between 3 and 5 is the lung. 3 and 5 a.m. is the lung. So when we have a cough, we will wake ourselves up
in the middle of the night and cough.
Right? And cough, right? So the whole body, and the pressure point controls the flow of the energy flow in the meridian. So if you at a certain time of the day, a certain point will be very vulnerable, right? See, I teach that because in the old days, this is a top secret. People have sacrificed their life trying to steal this information from the Shaolin Temple. They get killed because they're trying to steal it. But I think so. Some of it is out there already, but not exactly, right? And so I think it's good for people to know that. Also, there's got, in fact, tonight I'm teaching a healing program. I'm a professor and doctor in Chinese medicine, and teaching a healing program for some therapists and physios and chiropractors, right, using pressure points, right? So the other side of it is the healing side, and the other side of it is the hurting side, right? So I think it's good because I see Chinese martial art has been so stagnant that hasn't been any improvement because they're too selfish. They don't want to reveal all their secret. In fact, there's no secret because you have to apply it, you have to practice it. How can it be secret, right? How could somebody live in the mountain, have no contact with anybody? How would they know about grappling? They don't know. If they see a grappler, they be choked out, right? Doesn't matter how good martial art they are. So I think it's good for people to know, not in the intention to hurt people or to kill people, but to know there is such a thing, right? And also it's very hard to use it because the fighters are dancing around and moving around. How are you going to hit one point? It's hard enough for them to even lay a punch, let alone hitting one specific point, right? So that's why the controlling the elbow to stabilize the target, and that is the whole package. But I feel that it's important for people to know there is such a thing, and the other side of it, how to revive people and how to make sure you don't try to play around with that point,
Grandmaster William Cheung, it's been